compromising my values and like my standards and my requirements.
Okay, no athletes, no rappers. We're gonna go down the list.
Lori Harvey is allegedly in tears right now, completely heartbroken and devastated, because her mother, Marjorie Harvey, reportedly did the absolute unthinkable to Damson Idris. The streets of Hollywood are fully shaking after a massive, secret confrontation allegedly went down behind closed doors at the Harvey estate. And let's just say, things got incredibly ugly. Are we really surprised that another one of Lori's high-profile relationships has suddenly gone up in flames? Or is there a much darker, highly strategic game being played behind the scenes by the matriarch of the family? Rumors are swirling that Marjorie didn't just meddle this time. She allegedly handed Damson a literal list of demands that pushed the British-Nigerian actor straight to his breaking point. One minute Lori and Damson were looking incredibly cute, cozy, and deeply in love at a private after-party in Paris, and the very next minute Damson completely vanished from the picture like he was never even there. The internet is going completely wild trying to figure out if Lori actually made the choice to walk away from the Snowfall star on her own, or if Marjorie gave Damson an ultimatum he simply couldn't accept. Grab your popcorn and get comfortable, because the leaked details coming out of this sudden split are way messier than a simple Hollywood breakup. We are diving deep into the alleged text messages, the hidden family contracts, and the exact moment Lori realized her mother's intense survival mindset might have just cost her the best man she ever had. The silence coming from Lori Harvey and Damson Idris right now is absolutely deafening, but the absolute chaos happening behind the scenes tells a completely different story. Word on the street is that Lori is completely trapped in her feelings, locked away in her room crying her eyes out, because she finally realized that her mother, Marjorie Harvey, might have crossed a line that can never be uncrossed. People are talking, sources are whispering, and the narrative that Lori just gets bored and jumps from one handsome, successful man to the next is officially hitting a massive brick wall. For years, the public bought into the glamorous, effortless image of Lori being the ultimate prize who simply leaves when she pleases. But this sudden explosive fallout with Damson is exposing a major crack in the flawless Harvey family facade. We all saw them looking completely inseparable just a few weeks ago, turning heads at that exclusive Paris event, and looking like a couple that was ready to go the absolute distance. They had the chemistry, they had the style, and more importantly, they had the entire internet rooting for them because Damson felt different from the rest of her past flings. He wasn't just another trophy boyfriend to add to her legendary dating resume. He was a critically acclaimed, self-made Hollywood powerhouse who didn't need the Harvey name to validate his existence. But according to highly placed industry insiders, that exact independence is exactly what set off massive alarm bells in Marjorie Harvey's highly strategic, hyper-controlling mind. The rumors coming out of the inner circle suggest that Marjorie viewed Damson's lack of financial and industry dependence on the family as a direct threat to the established order of how things are run in their household. To truly understand why the internet is fully convinced that Marjorie orchestrated this entire heartbreaking collapse, you have to look past the beautiful Instagram photos and dive deep into the cold, calculated history of how Marjorie operates. This is a woman who did not just stumble into a life of luxury and massive influence by accident. She planned every single step of her journey with the precision of a military general. Long before she ever met Steve Harvey and completely reshaped his career, his image, and his bank account, Marjorie was navigating worlds that required an intense, ruthless survival mindset. She was previously married to men who were reportedly major players in highly dangerous, high-stakes illegal operations, including Jim Townsend and Darnell Woods. Those are worlds where you do not survive by being passive, sweet, or letting other people dictate the rules of the game. You survive in those environments by keeping your cards close to your chest, establishing absolute leverage, and ensuring that you are always the one pulling the strings behind the scenes. When Marjorie successfully transitioned out of that heavy world and walked into Steve Harvey's life, she didn't leave that hyper-vigilant, strategic mindset behind. She simply upgraded the playground. She reportedly took complete control of Steve's brand, cleared out the old energy, and established herself as the undisputed matriarch whose word is absolute law. Critics and close observers have pointed out for years that this exact same cold, calculated approach to life and relationships is exactly what she passed down to Lori from the moment she was old enough to date. Marjorie didn't just raise a daughter. She engineered a high-end, elite brand that was designed to interact with men purely on a strategic, transactional level. The receipts are literally all over the internet if you know where to look, and fans are currently recirculating that infamous 2015 clip from the Steve Harvey show where Marjorie sits next to an 18-year-old Lori. On national television, under the guise of sweet, protective maternal guidance, Marjorie laid down the strict laws of engagement for her daughter's love life, explicitly telling her no athletes and no rappers. She told Lori to never try to fit in, to always remember that she is the absolute prize, and to never give herself away to just anybody who comes knocking. While the studio audience clapped and thought it was just beautiful, empowering advice from a mother to her young daughter, looking back at it now, it feels way more like a corporate training seminar for a lifelong mission. It was the initial blueprint for a dating strategy that treats high-profile men like temporary assets rather than actual human beings with real feelings. For a long time, that blueprint worked perfectly as Lori moved through relationships with some of the biggest names in sports, music, and movies, leaving a trail of broken hearts while her brand grew bigger and bigger. But then walked in Damson Idris, a man who completely defied the traditional script Marjorie had written for her daughter's suitors. Damson didn't come from a background of inherited Hollywood privilege, and he didn't rely on flashy, temporary hype to maintain his status in the entertainment industry. He built his entire career brick by brick, enduring years of intense grinding before completely blowing up as Franklin Saint in the hit series Snowfall. He is a man who understands the value of hard work, authenticity, and personal integrity, which means he is not the type of guy who is going to sit quietly at a dinner table and let his girlfriend's mother dictate how he should live his life. According to explosive leaks from people who claim to have been close to the situation, the trouble started almost immediately after Lori and Damson decided to give their relationship another serious shot. Marjorie allegedly didn't just play the role of the sweet, welcoming mother-in-law figure. She reportedly launched a full-scale, background investigation into Damson's life, his future career moves, and his financial portfolios. Insiders claim that Marjorie was deeply uncomfortable with the fact that Damson could not be easily manipulated or swayed by the massive wealth and social standing of the Harvey family. When a man already has his own millions, his own critical acclaim, and his own massive global fan base, you lose the ability to use money or clout as leverage over him. This independence reportedly drove Marjorie into a state of hyperdrive, causing her to constantly whisper in Lori's ear and pick apart every single thing Damson did. The rumors suggest that Marjorie started criticizing everything from Damson's public appearance to the specific acting roles he was choosing to accept, claiming they didn't align with the elite Harvey standard. She allegedly wanted Damson to sign a highly restrictive, incredibly invasive family non-disclosure agreement and brand alignment contract before things got any more serious between him and Lori. We are talking about a literal legal document that would reportedly give the Harvey team a say in how their relationship was presented to the media, what kind of public statements could be made, and how Damson's growing fame could be leveraged to benefit the family brand. For a self-made, proud British Nigerian man who values his independence above everything else, this was not just a red flag. It was an absolute insult to his character and his hard work. Damson reportedly tried to maintain his boundaries and handle the situation with total class, out of his genuine love and deep affection for Lori, but the constant pressure from Marjorie became an unbearable weight. Imagine trying to build a real, authentic connection with a woman while her mother is treating your relationship like a corporate merger that requires constant oversight and executive approval. Sources claim that Damson eventually confronted Lori about her mother's extreme meddling, asking her to finally stand up, set a firm boundary, and choose the relationship over her family's intense PR machine. But because Lori has been conditioned from a very young age to view her mother's word as absolute gospel, she reportedly froze and found herself completely unable to push back against Marjorie's formidable authority. When Damson realized that Lori was too deeply entrenched in her mother's strategic rules to ever offer him a normal, peaceful, and unmanipulated relationship, he allegedly made the painful decision to completely pull away. He reportedly packed his bags and walked right out of her life, leaving the relationship behind not because he stopped loving Lori, but because he refused to surrender his autonomy to Marjorie's controlling empire. The immediate fallout from his sudden departure reportedly sent Lori into a complete emotional tailspin, causing her to break down in ways her friends have never seen before. She wasn't just losing a boyfriend. She was realizing that the elite, calculated system her mother built to protect her might actually be a golden cage that keeps her completely isolated from real love. But the drama didn't just stop at the breakup, because the moment Damson walked out that door, the legendary Harvey PR machine reportedly flew into an absolute state of blind panic. They couldn't afford to let the public narrative become the truth, because the idea of a successful, highly respected man actively choosing to dump the ultimate prize would completely destroy the brand image they spent over a decade building. So, according to media analysts and internet detectives, the family's public relations team immediately went to work to manufacture a completely fabricated, face-saving narrative to feed to the blogs. They instantly started planting stories that made it seem like Lori was simply the one who got bored, or that Damson was just too nice and low-key for her fast-paced, glamorous lifestyle. This calculated smear campaign was designed to make Damson look like he just couldn't keep up, shifting the blame entirely away from Marjorie's behind-the-scenes manipulation and placing it back on Lori's usual independent persona. But the internet in 2026 is completely different, and the public is no longer blindly swallowing every single clean, heavily curated press release that these big celebrity teams throw their way. People started looking closely at the timing of the split, looking at the pattern of Lori's past brief romances, and looking directly at Marjorie's long history of dominating the entire family dynamic. The comment sections across social media platforms completely exploded with fans openly calling out Marjorie for being an incredibly toxic, overbearing force who is actively ruining her daughter's chances at ever finding true happiness. The public backlash has become so incredibly intense that it is starting to bleed into the wider perception of the entire Harvey household, dragging up old family secrets that the family has desperately tried to keep buried for years. People are openly discussing how Marjorie's intense need for absolute control has allegedly caused massive, irreparable fractures within the family dynamic since the very day she married Steve. When Steve adopted Marjorie's children, the entire focus of the family brand shifted almost exclusively onto them, reportedly leaving Steve's biological children feeling completely pushed to the side and alienated. This long-standing rumor of internal resentment and favoritism is officially resurfacing with the absolute vengeance, as fans connect the dots between Marjorie's alleged mistreatment of Steve's biological kids and her current heavy-handed manipulation of Lori's love life. The rumors of internal resentment and favoritism are officially resurfacing with an absolute vengeance, as fans connect the dots between Marjorie's alleged mistreatment of Steve's biological kids and her current heavy-handed manipulation of Lori's love life. The whispers from inside the industry have now escalated into a full-blown public relations nightmare, with independent blogs and media critics claiming to have gained access to leaked communications from within the Harvey camp. These alleged leaks suggest that the tension between Damson and Marjorie reached an absolute boiling point during a private family gathering, where Damson openly refused to comply with the family's strict media protocol. According to these unverified but highly detailed reports, Marjorie expected Damson to clear all of his high-profile Hollywood interview talking points with her team to ensure that the Harvey brand was always centered and praised. Damson, who has spent years earning his respect in the cutthroat British and American acting circles, reportedly found this level of micromanagement completely absurd and toxic. Sources claim he told close friends that he felt less like a romantic partner to Lori, and more like a corporate employee being groomed for a reality television spin-off that he never signed up for. When he refused to sign the updated non-disclosure agreements that Marjorie's legal representatives allegedly slid across the table, the atmosphere turned completely icy. The leaked details suggest that Marjorie viewed this refusal as an act of open rebellion, and immediately began plotting to convince Lori that Damson was not a team player, and was ultimately bad for their long-term financial empire. The public reaction to these shocking allegations has been nothing short of explosive, with major commentary channels dissecting the situation from every single angle. For the first time in her career, Lori is facing a massive wave of criticism not for dating around, but for allowing her mother to dictate her personal life to such an extreme degree. Fans are flooding the comment sections of entertainment news outlets, expressing deep sympathy for Damson, while calling out the absolute hypocrisy of the Harvey family's public image. People are pointing out that while Steve Harvey makes millions of dollars giving relationship advice to the masses on television, his own household is allegedly run like a high-stakes corporate dictatorship where real love is sacrificed for public relations points. The scrutiny has become so incredibly intense that internet sleuths have started digging into the deep financial records and brand partnerships of the Harvey enterprise to see just how much money is tied up in Lori's public image. Financial analysts who comment on celebrity branding note that Lori's value as an influencer and entrepreneur is heavily tied to her image as an elite, unobtainable, and highly selective woman. Every time she dates a top-tier celebrity, her brand value spikes, driving massive traffic to her skincare line and fashion collaborations. But if the public starts to believe that these relationships are merely calculated business arrangements managed by her mother, the illusion completely shatters and the consumer trust vanishes overnight. This realization has reportedly sent Marjorie into a complete state of hypervigilance, prompting her to call emergency meetings with top-tier Hollywood crisis managers to flip the narrative before it does permanent damage to their pockets. Anonymous sources claim that Marjorie is absolutely furious that Damson's quiet, dignified exit has made him the hero in the eyes of the public, while leaving the Harveys looking like the villains. The family's PR team has allegedly been working overtime, calling in favors from major entertainment networks and gossip editors to launch a subtle smear campaign aimed at diminishing Damson's professional standing. They are reportedly trying to plant stories suggesting that Damson's sudden rise to fame has changed him, or that he was simply using Lori to solidify his status in the American mainstream market. But these classic Hollywood diversion tactics are failing miserably because Damson's track record speaks completely for itself. He has never been a messy celebrity who chases clout or trades on his personal relationships for headlines. He has always let his immense acting talent do the talking. The public sees right through the sudden influx of negative articles about him, and the backlash against the Harveys is only growing more aggressive by the hour. Commentators are calling this a textbook case of an elite Hollywood family trying to destroy a self-made black man's reputation simply because they could not control his actions or own his success. As the online warfare rages on, the emotional toll on Lori is reportedly becoming impossible for her to hide from her inner circle. Close friends of the model claim that she is feeling an intense amount of guilt because she knows deep down that Damson treated her with nothing but absolute respect and genuine love. She is allegedly beginning to realize that her mother's strict rules of engagement, which were supposed to protect her from being used by opportunistic men, are actually pushing away the only men who genuinely care about her for who she is. The image of Lori sitting alone in her massive mansion, surrounded by luxury but completely isolated from the controversy has also put Steve Harvey in a deeply uncomfortable and compromising position, as critics lambast him for remaining completely silent, while his household faces these serious allegations of manipulation. Many fans are wondering how a man who wrote a best-selling book on how to find and maintain a healthy relationship can sit back and watch his wife allegedly dismantle their daughter's happiness for the sake of a family brand. Rumors suggest that there is massive internal friction building between Steve and Marjorie behind closed doors, with Steve reportedly expressing concerns that this entire situation is starting to tarnish his own hard-earned global legacy. Industry insiders are predicting that if this public relations crisis continues to escalate at this current speed, it could trigger a massive investigation into the inner workings of the Harvey family's various business entities. There are whispers that independent investigative journalists are currently preparing deep dive exposés that promise to reveal the exact legal and financial strategies Marjorie uses to maintain absolute authority over the family's assets and public narratives. The mere threat of these hidden truths being dragged into the bright light of day has reportedly caused a massive panic within the family's inner circle, as they realize that the public is no longer willing to look the other way. Every single move the Harveys make right now is being watched under a massive psychological microscope, and the traditional methods of celebrity damage control are simply no longer working. When the family tried to post a seemingly happy, united front on Instagram to distract from the rumors, the comment section was immediately bombarded with thousands of questions about Damson and Marjorie's alleged interference. The public is demanding real answers and total transparency, refusing to let this massive story slide under the rug, like so many other celebrity scandals in the past. The dynamic has shifted from a simple entertainment blog breakup story into a fascinating psychological case study about the toxic intersection of extreme wealth, parental control, and curated reality. People are drawing parallels between Lori's current predicament and other famous Hollywood stories where overbearing stage parents completely managed their children's lives into total isolation. The overarching sentiment online is that Lori needs to make a definitive, life-altering choice very soon. Either continue to be a pawn in her mother's corporate brand strategy, or break completely free and reclaim her own narrative as an adult woman. But taking that step toward absolute independence is much easier said than done when you have been raised from infancy to believe that your family's public image is the most important thing in the world. Marjorie has reportedly built a highly complex psychological dependency within Lori, making her feel like she cannot make a single major life or career decision without her mother's ultimate approval. This deep-seated conditioning is exactly why Lori reportedly feels completely paralyzed right now, caught in an unbearable tug-of-war between her love for her mother and her desire for a normal, peaceful life. Meanwhile, Damson Idris is reportedly moving on with absolute class and dignity, completely refusing to engage in the petty media circus or address the wild rumors directly. He has transitioned all of his focus back onto his craft, securing major new film roles and proving to the world that his trajectory is completely unstoppable with, or without the Harvey association. His refusal to play the media game or throw dirt back at the family has only made him look more honorable in the eyes of the public, further exposing the calculated nature of the attacks against him. The stark contrast between Damson's quiet professional success and the frantic, messy damage control happening at the Harvey estate is leaving a massive impression on the public. It is becoming increasingly clear to everyone watching that the old Hollywood playbook of manipulating public perception through planted stories and curated silence is completely losing its power in 2026. The audience is far too smart, the digital receipts are far too accessible, and the demand for authentic truth has never been higher in the history of digital media. As the pressure reaches an absolute boiling point, rumors are beginning to circulate that a major mainstream news network is currently trying to secure an exclusive, sit-down interview with Damson to get his full side of the story. The mere possibility of Damson breaking his silence and revealing the exact details of what transpired behind the closed doors of the Harvey mansion has sent the family's legal team into a state of absolute frenzy. They are reportedly preparing a massive wave of legal injunctions and cease and desist letters to block any potential disclosures, desperate to keep the remaining pieces of their shattered public narrative from falling apart completely. The absolute panic behind the closed doors of the Harvey mansion has reportedly reached a fever pitch because these legal threats are doing absolutely nothing to slow down the avalanche of public scrutiny. The internet is completely refusing to back down, and the latest wave of online commentary suggests that the true fallout from this situation is going to be felt heavily in the courtroom and in the corporate boardrooms. Legal experts who analyze high-profile celebrity contracts are openly discussing the potential validity of these alleged family non-disclosure agreements, questioning whether forcing a romantic partner to sign away their free speech just to date someone could actually constitute a form of structural extortion. If an independent investigator decides to look into the heavy-handed tactics used by the Harvey team to suppress information, we could be looking at a massive consumer fraud probe regarding how these public figures curate their highly profitable brand narratives. The financial crisis within the Harvey empire is reportedly already beginning to manifest as top-tier beauty and luxury fashion brands start to quietly reevaluate their long-term partnerships with Lori. Corporate sponsors in 2026 are completely terrified of being associated with any narrative that involves toxic family dynamics, extreme control, or calculated smear campaigns against self-made talent. Insider sources claim that a major luxury skincare distributor has already paused negotiations for a multi-million-dollar expansion of Lori's brand, citing concerns that the current public backlash could severely damage consumer engagement and retail sales. The absolute irony of the situation is blowing people's minds, because Marjorie's intense desire to protect the family asset has seemingly done the exact opposite, triggering a financial domino effect that could cost them a literal fortune. As the corporate doors begin to swing shut, independent news networks are preparing full-scale broadcast deep dives that promise to expose the hidden history of the family's media manipulation tactics. Media analysts are predicting that this massive public relations disaster will eventually force a complete, humiliating restructuring of how the entire Harvey enterprise handles its public communications. There are wild, unverified rumors circulating that Steve Harvey is secretly consulting with a separate, completely independent crisis management firm to legally detach his own professional career and global syndication contracts from the toxic fallout surrounding his wife's actions. Steve is reportedly realizing that the public is fully prepared to boycott his television shows and live events if he continues to stay completely silent and condone what is being described as a ruthless regime of family control. The absolute breaking point for the public came when internet detectives unearthed deep-seated connections between the current manipulation of Lori's love life and the historical court documents involving Marjorie's previous marriages. People are starting to ask incredibly dangerous questions about whether the massive wealth and legal influence accumulated during the Steve Harvey era is being used to run a sophisticated, high-end operation that systematically destroys the credibility of anyone who threatens their family dominance. The narrative has completely evolved from a simple Hollywood breakup into a full-blown expose about systemic abuse of power, media gatekeeping, and the dark reality behind America's most famous blended family. The pressure is mounting so rapidly that industry insiders believe a public apology or a highly curated, fake family sit-down interview is being frantically written behind the scenes to try and save what is left of their shattered reputation. But the public is loudly proclaiming that they will absolutely not buy another staged performance, another clean script, or another tearful explanation that avoids the core issue of Marjorie's alleged toxic interference. The absolute power has officially shifted completely into the hands of the audience, and the demand for real, unedited accountability has never been more intense or more absolute. This entire situation is proof that no matter how much money you have, no matter how many high-powered lawyers you employ, and no matter how perfect your public relations strategy appears to be, you can never truly control the truth once it decides to break free from its cage. Lori Harvey is reportedly realizing this reality the absolute hard way, sitting in the middle of a massive storm that her mother created, but that she ultimately has to suffer through as her own personal life lies in complete, smoldering ruins. The final chapter of this shocking Hollywood saga is currently being written by the fans themselves, who are completely rewriting the rules of celebrity accountability and demanding that the truth be told regardless of who it hurts. But I want to know what you guys think about this entire absolute madness that is taking over the internet. Do you think Marjorie Harvey went completely too far this time by allegedly trying to legally tie down and micromanage an independent self-made man like Damson Idris? Do you believe Lori is ever going to find the personal strength and absolute courage to completely cut the umbilical cord, stand up to her mother's ruthless rules, and live her life on her own adult terms? Or is the Harvey family brand forever stained by these shocking leaks and allegations of extreme control, manipulation, and behind-the-scenes corporate warfare? Let me know your absolute honest thoughts and raw reactions in the comments down below, because the comment section is fully alive and we need to talk about this. Don't forget to hit that like button to show your support for real, unfiltered investigative commentary. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss a single second of these massive celebrity breakdowns, and turn on your notifications so you are always the very first to know when the absolute truth drops. Thank you so much for tuning in and staying locked into the channel. Stay safe out there in the digital streets, and I will see you guys in the absolute next explosive video. But I want to know what you guys think about this entire situation that is taking over the internet right now. Do you think Marjorie Harvey went completely too far this time by allegedly trying to micromanage an independent self-made man like Damson Idris? Do you believe Lori is ever going to find the personal strength to completely stand up to her mother's ruthless rules and live her life on her own terms? Or is the Harvey family brand forever stained by these shocking allegations of extreme control and behind-the-scenes manipulation? Let me know your absolute honest thoughts and raw reactions in the comments down below, because the comment section is fully alive and we need to talk about this. Don't forget to hit that like button to show your support for this deep dive celebrity news commentary. Subscribe to the channel right now so you never miss a single second of these massive Hollywood breakdowns, and turn on your notifications so you are always the very first to know when the truth drops. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next video.